Hello, family. Welcome to Set for Life. And hey, look, we got a new set. I'm not at the house, but I'm right here. You guys, I'm excited about Set for Life, as you know. And what we do here is we help you get to the next level, whether it's in health or whether it's in finances. We're gonna show you how to get to the next level. As you know, we have a playlist that you can click on and see all our previous shows, but I'm excited about the one we have for you coming tonight. This one is with the executive director of the Securities and Exchange Commission. That's right. Have you ever seen someone get scammed, or you want to help your family and know about scams, but then also how to invest and how to do it properly? That's what we're going to be doing tonight. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, family. Pastor George here, ready for another exciting episode of Set for Life. I am so excited today. There's something we always want to know, and guess what? We're going to find out a lot of this today. So I have with us today, actually, the regional director of the Securities and Exchange Commission for Los Angeles, Ms. Michele Layne.
Hi, Pastor. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you today. Before I get started, I have to give what is the SEC disclaimer, which is we're here today as a service to investors, to educate people, but I'm not here to give legal advice or investment advice or make any statements about SEC policy.
Excellent. But you know what else is really important is? It's about us educating and actually working together. So, hey, Michele, what is the mission of the SEC?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there's three parts to our mission. One part is to protect investors. The second part is to ensure orderly, efficient, and fair markets. And the third part of our mission is to facilitate capital formation, i.e. help the public raise money.
Right. So in other words, we want to keep the money and how things are invested organized. Everybody say organized. And by the way, in the chat, you can just type in at any time, because you guys want to understand that we want to actually help investors in doing this. So how did you get into this industry?
Yes, so I'm an attorney, and I started out my career practicing law in a law firm, and then I felt like I wanted to do something with my degree to really work in the public sector, to work in the public interest. And I had worked on a few securities cases in my law firm, and then when I was looking to make a change, thought, you know, the work that I saw the SEC do from a different vantage point, I was so impressed with and really struck by wanting to be able to just wear the proverbial white hat and do the right thing. And so I was fortunate enough that the SEC in LA was hiring at the time, and they hired me, and I started out in the enforcement division 26 years ago, and believe in the mission and the reward that it is to be able to provide the service that we do to the public.
Right, so it's really about service and serving. And we're going to get into the enforcement area later. But I just want to know, see, I got these questions that people always ask me. How does the SEC apply to everyday lives of individuals?
Yes, so it really applies in a very significant and profound way, right? Like, you know, when you're starting out, you want to be able to save money to pay for, you know, as you get older, not only your retirement, but your, if you have children, to help provide for their education, and to essentially, you know, have your money work for you. Right. And the way to do that is, you know, not to put, you know, cash under your mattress, but to invest and invest wisely, and most importantly, never become a victim of a fraud or a scam.
Michele, I'm asked after church services, I'm asked a lot, all the time. Like when people will find out they get scammed, and then they don't know what to do. So what are some characteristics that happen with scams?
Sure. So there are often a few telltale signs or red flags that when you're pitched to invest your money, that it could be a scam. So the first and obvious one is if it sounds too good to be true, that is a giant red flag. And what are some indicators of something sounds too good to be true? Guaranteed returns, no risk. Those are like the two main hallmarks. And as everybody needs to know, there's no investment that is without risk. There can be minimal risk, and usually there is a relationship between risk and reward, so to speak. But the key thing is to make sure that before you invest your money, you fully understand what the risks are, and if that is a level that is acceptable and tolerant for you and what you're trying to accomplish. And again, with a guarantee, there are no guaranteed returns. So those are the two of the biggest things. Another hallmark often is high pressure tactics, like you need to invest right now. Well, there's no investment that has, a fuse like that. So you should be able to take your time and do the research and check out the investment and the professionals who are making the pitch to you. And I know we're going to chat a little bit more about how to do that in a few minutes. But another sign can be somebody who from another area of your life, and they themselves may be the victim of a scam. And they're like, this is great, and I want you to get in on it, which then leads to another red flag is, well, this is a very limited opportunity. I'm only investing it to you. Some can be...
I got to dig in on these. I'm
in.
trying, everyone, you guys already know, I do my very best not to interrupt. But you already hit so many that were nuggets. I need to have them shown how they happen to everybody. So when we say guaranteed investment, that means that like one of the scams that we heard, if it's actually even happened that we've even heard, is like someone walked up to me, this is actually a few weeks ago, where someone said, hey, there's a gentleman that says he wants to invest and he's gonna sell Christmas trees in this open lot, and he guarantees a 15% rate of return. And you have to just give him this money and he wants to, like, first of all, 15% rate of return, comes in 2 months, limited time. That's literally listed everything that you just said. And then also you can be part of a group. He told me to get into it, and he's telling me to tell my friends, but not to tell other people, just your friends. But you understand, those are literally every characteristic of what you just said. So when someone hears that, what's something they should do?
Well, the first thing is, don't turn your money over right away, obviously. But the second thing is, to do your due diligence, do your research. So for instance, to sell securities, you need to be licensed. So on the SEC maintains a website called investor.gov, which has a ton of resources for the public to not only educate themselves about different scams and different resources that the SEC has, and a lot of alerts about particular types of scams, but there are also several databases that you can search. So we have Broker Check. So literally you would type in the name of Michele Layne and see, am I registered? Right. Do I have a disciplinary history? Also, never underestimate the power of Google. Like there are people out there who have been disciplined and been by state regulators, by other securities regulators, and sometimes a simple Google search of their name, assuming like it's not a very common name, will show you past disciplinary history. So again, those are all things that you can do as part of education and research to avoid getting defrauded.
And that's also a very important point that you brought up about how you look people up. Because as financial advisors, you always looked up and it says where you work, where you're registered, and it even says your disciplinary history. So you want to be able to find out some more information about the person before you invest. And then again, if it sounds too good to be true, usually is. There were some other things that you were getting ready to say about scams. Any other
Yes.
traits?
So often, I'm sure, some folks who are listening might have received postcards, unsolicited calls for free lunch, investment seminar. And again, that's not to say that every single one of them may be a problem. But again, nobody's providing something for nothing.
Right.
So that can also be a way to entice people, give you something small, but then in exchange, they're hoping you're going to invest money maybe without asking so many questions, because they will try to establish some trust or connection.
And it may be high pressure, the same thing. And then there's an old adage, beware of naked men who offer you their shirt. Meaning that if somebody has something, they're offering you something, say, there's got to be something behind that, as you said, in that area, and working in those areas. But that's good. All right. Any other areas?
Social media. So a lot of solicitation that we see just with, social media is everywhere, but, we have victims who are scammed from, YouTube videos, all different platforms where we call them sometimes the promoters are out there with, advertising their scheme, their scam. And similarly, there are also those that publish newsletters, cold calls. There's a variety of mechanisms. Some of we call them boiler rooms, where they're just banks of salespeople who aren't registered, who will cold call down, a sucker list, if you will, or lists of seniors or folks that they've purchased lists who they know from other people in that area who have obtained investments from folks, and try to go back to them and create a connection and call them frequently and establish that. And then sadly, we do sometimes see people who don't have a ton of savings turn over almost everything to somebody.
Actually, everything you're saying. And also, everybody, you can let us know in the chat also if you're doing this. She's literally walking through all the things that I see on a weekly basis, and then they actually happen. So another part is, and then we're going to put a pin in it and come on back, is I want to know how your job has changed because of social media. See, before someone had to go out and you had to get a bullhorn and go out and yell and go out and say this. But now you can just put up a post. You're seeing all the things that are happening with cryptocurrencies and different things where somebody says cryptocurrency, and then it's on TV, and then they say it, and then it just goes viral. So first of all, what is a cryptocurrency, and what is a cryptocurrency?
Well, it is it can be a currency in the way we understand it. It can also be a security if it's an investment contract. But the notion is it is a decentralized currency. So it's not the traditional currency through a bank. It's through a decentralized system.
So we're getting hot off the press. I know you guys are already asking questions about this. So hey, in the chat, we were listening to you. So one of the things is, what would you tell somebody that they should do before, I'm going to say it twice, before you put money into cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, so I think before you put money into a cryptocurrency, it's really like any other investment. You want to do your research in, what is the nature of the investment? What are the risks? Am I able to get my money out if I want to? Is that a possibility? To do research into who is selling the investment to you. And some of the same red flags that we talked about earlier still apply here. So it is always doing the research, understanding the investment, understanding the risk, and understanding who you're purchasing it from.
Right. And also, I think it's really important what you said about, number one, understanding the risk. A lot of times people are just thinking that, hey, by the way, this just goes up. Hey, by the way, this can go down. And then also other ways of doing research and walking through it. I think also what's important is that's also with cryptocurrencies, which is a little bit, there's so many platforms out there. You know what I mean? And not naming all the companies, but try to find out someone that's reputable that you're doing and not buying it directly from a person. Like we're hearing, is he hearing scams? Are there any scams you're seeing with cryptocurrencies?
Yes, we see a lot of them. Some of them are, advertised on YouTube through a variety of mechanisms. And the important thing, again, is, as I said before, to do the research and really understand what the investment is, which is often difficult if, you're just listening to someone on a YouTube video who's promising astronomical returns when you purchase, their coin without a lot of other information. And so that also is a red flag when you're given vague representations about how the returns are going to be steady, guaranteed, often astronomical, when in fact some of them are outright frauds, Ponzi schemes, and others, have other problems.
So one of the things we want to make sure we do with cryptocurrencies, just make sure we do the research. And I'm going to say research means from different sources. So as you said, not just if someone's talking, telling something, whether on nothing wrong with Twitter, Facebook, or anything, or Instagram, but also get them from also sources of people that are also from other areas as well. So hey, I want to switch gears and ask you this, the most popular question, the one that I had for you, is this. So what's the biggest case you've worked on?
So I guess it's hard to define biggest in the sense of, sadly, investor losses in like an offering fraud Ponzi scheme, or there are other big cases where when we investigate companies, we often get really significant penalties from them for violating the securities laws. But in the investment realm, sadly, some of the biggest cases, and one of the biggest ones our office brought was this past year, which was essentially a Ponzi scheme, and it involved an individual who was touting and promoting an investment on streaming films through his alleged agreements with a variety of production companies. And there were fabricated documents, and many of those agreements did not, in fact, exist. But nonetheless, people invested a lot of money. And ultimately, like with most Ponzi schemes, for a Ponzi scheme to continue, the promoter, the fraudster, needs to keep bringing in new investors, because a Ponzi scheme is an investment where the existing investors are paid returns or profits, which are coming from new investors making investments.
Can we explain this again?
Yes.
I want everyone to understand what a Ponzi scheme is. I want you to start, and how that started. Was it Charles Ponzi?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, explain a Ponzi scheme. Then I want to go through
Way back. And so essentially, I guess an analogy is it's a house of cards. And so what happens is, let's say, Pastor George, you invest money and I'm the fraudster. And so I say 10% guaranteed return every year. And I make my payment to you, and you think it's because I've told you I'm investing in this amazing Christmas tree lot, and these are the profits from the sales of the trees. But in fact, I'm getting 20 other investors to invest, and there is no Christmas tree lot, or there's a lot, but I'm taking most of the money for myself, and the profits that I'm paying to you are these new investor money. So you can see the source of income into the Ponzi operation is new investor money. So when that dries up, there's nothing left. And so what happens is the thing collapses.
Exactly. So that's that term. So then how do we fight against it? You don't have to tell us, watch this, you guys. I'm going to tell you guys some awesome information. If it sounds too good to be true, just kidding. We already walked through that. Actually, everything you said was a recipe to how that doesn't happen. And I want us to listen to this, because I want you to talk to, not only share this with not only just you, but I also want you to share this with your parents. I also want you to share it with your kids, because this is an opportunity that you can also help people in not being scammed, but then also how to invest correctly. And again, thank you so much for coming,
thank
Michele.
you so much for having me.
And I want to come back, and maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Would love to.
So I want to thank you all for tuning in to Set for Life, and I look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Family, I pray that you were blessed. This is an answer to prayer. I told you I was excited at the very beginning. I'm even more excited now, because there's a time when my wife had been sitting with me and someone had walked up and told me that they got scammed and they didn't want to invest anymore. And my wife said, George, you ought to do a class that shows people about how to not get scammed and how to invest properly. And we did that tonight. We're going to keep coming with even more episodes of showing you how to be blessed in the area of health, finance, and spiritually. I look forward to seeing you at our next episode.